Okay, that's why I said like suburbs of secondary markets. Secondary markets are good, but if you can't afford a secondary market, look at the suburbs of the secondary market because those are also very good smaller facilities to get your foot in the door. And then over time, if you hold on to that for 5 years, I mean, those cities are always like for instance, like Augusta, Georgia used to be this little tiny city and it's just like booming everywhere now. You know what I'm saying? So that is why I like those. Okay. And does distance from a REIT storage matter to you in areas with sprawl and primary markets? Is the point where it makes sense? Well, you just heard me talk about Fayetteville, Georgia. Fayetteville, Georgia is literally like a suburb of Atlanta. I mean, it's a suburb of Atlanta. And it used to be like I would have considered it a secondary market, but I think over the course of the last couple of years, it's moved into a primary market. So it wasn't like there wasn't any REITs around 5 years ago in Fayetteville. There just wasn't. Like maybe in the downtown area, maybe there was like some couple of them, but like where we were, there was just like no REITs. And now it's like they're everywhere. They just came and took over. Okay. All right. So that's the primary, second, tertiary market. All right. And we talked about finding them, right? Any other questions on finding them, put them in a chat. But now you guys all know how we find our facilities. I'm actually living in an RV right now and traveling around. All right. What I do, this is how I find storage facilities in an RV. This could be like a whole session, how I find my storage facilities and while I'm living in an RV and traveling full time. Right. But the one thing I don't like living in an RV is really just like not knowing whether or not the internet's going to be good. Now we paid for like this ridiculous internet so we can make sure we have really nice internet. But every once in a while, the internet just sucks and it's kind of annoying. That's the only thing I really don't like about living in an RV. Other than that, it's been blast because we've been traveling around and like spending time with each other and like seeing the sights and stuff. But we drive all over the country. You know what I'm saying? So you guys know now, how do I find my facilities? Driving for storage. So guess what? That's all I've been doing for the last 2 years, driving for storage. We found so many facilities. So I have one VA that works directly for me. And all she does is she follows me around my route. And like I'll drive through, like we'll drive on like, because we always go like, we're going like, for instance, like we just came from Glacier National Park and we drove down to Bozeman, right? And like there's like no highway to go that way, right? It's just like it's like all back roads and stuff. And as you drive these back roads, I mean, we found so many storage facilities. Okay. So we're driving back road, like we're not on the highway. We drove from Bozeman to Custer. We're in Custer right now. We drove from Bozeman to Custer, and most of that was like Highway 90. So like we found like hardly any storage facilities during this time, but that was okay because we were like sick and I was not even in the mood anyways, right? So, but from Glacier to Bozeman, we drove the back roads, and I'm telling you, we found like it was like a 4-hour drive, and I think we found like at least 30 or 40 storage facilities. And so what I do is we're driving for storage. This is all business expense too, right? Because I'm working while I'm driving and living. So that's how you can write this off, right? So we're driving for storage. And then what I do is I use Landglide. Okay. Now you could also use either Regrid or Parcels, which were kind of like, these are new, like Landglide was back like 5 years ago, right? So now they have Regrid and Parcel, which is kind of like newer apps, but they're basically apps on your phone. Okay. You put the app on your phone, and then it shows you who, as you're driving along, who owns that facility, right? So we'll drive the back road, and then people will be like, oh, there's a storage facility. And then I'll get onto Landglide. That I'll pull it up, like you just push like your current, like this is where you're at right now, GPS button or whatever it is, and it pulls up, and then it pulls all the information for that owner. And so I take a snapshot of like the facility, take a snapshot of the Landglide information, and then I put it into a Google Drive folder, right? So I take a snapshot, And then I put it into a Google Drive. No, not a Google Drive. Sorry, Google Photos photo. Like, because all my pictures are all backed up to Google Photos. And then, so it's in Google. We have an album, like me and my VA, we share an album which is called like RV Driving for Storage or whatever, Driving for Storage with Stacy or something like that. We put it into an album, and then I share that album with my VA, and then my VA is like looking the information up. And then what she does while we're driving is she checks my route to make sure I didn't miss anything. Right. So like she sees my route now from like Glacier National Park to Bozeman, and she can see where I'm at, so she can quickly just look through and make sure that, she's virtually driving for storage is what she's doing, and then she'll make sure I didn't miss any in that section and in that whole 4-hour drive. So really my virtual assistant is working just for me, monitoring my route.